Welcome everybody to Pixels, Plastic and Ink. Before we dive in today's episode, we want to take a moment to acknowledge the devastation that has gripped LA with the wildfires as they continue across our city. Us being in LA or the surrounding areas, we're definitely feeling the impact. And these fires are not just consuming land and homes; they're impacting lives, families, entire communities. So today's episode is dedicated to all those who are impacted by the fires, first responders, working tirelessly to protect the lives of people who have been displaced. And LA, we're stronger together. And in the face of all this chaos, hopefully we can look forward to when we all move forward and rebuild together. So again, this episode is dedicated to Los Angeles. This is Pixels, Plastic and Ink. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and hope you are all staying safe. I think this group, Mr. Storm and Dr. Brantley, we debated whether or not we should have this show given the circumstances in LA, but I think we came together and decided maybe it's an opportunity to provide a little bit of distraction, hopefully a little bit of enjoyment, understanding what people are dealing with, and so it's definitely cognizant of what's happening across our city. But also the understanding that maybe this could be a bright spot in someone's week that's probably been incredibly tough. So, Mr. Storm, Dr. Brantley, how are you all doing on this Friday evening?
Hey, doing all right. Like I said, I'm blessed where I'm at. We're just getting a little smoke, but power's out. We would have had Richard from KS Collectibles, our fifth member of the group, and his power went out an hour before we did the show. So, like at any time, I'm sure all of us, we pop off, then we'll jump on, do mobilely. But prayers are out to all. Got a lot of people out that way, and I'm just hoping that this is one of those things where people bounce back from it and they're able to push through because I understand it, this is pretty devastating for us. And, while the rest of the world has this thing of wanting to pass the blame game, there's people out here that lost everything. Let's just all just be together and just understand and have some compassion for people.
Yeah, I'm in the San Fernando Valley, and from my window, I can actually see the Palisades fire coming up over the distant other side of the valley hills. So, but the way the winds are going, the valley is not affected by a lot of the smoke or ash. It's all going a different direction. So it's like I look up and it's blue skies, and look over there and it's just a wall of black smoke.
Yeah. Two close acquaintances, family acquaintances, both lost their homes in the Palisades, and so incredibly devastating.
Yeah.
I'm sure for those of you who might be tuning in, have read all the news and social media, some that may be close to Los Angeles, and it is definitely a tough time. Born and raised in Los Angeles and spending
Yep.
most of my life here, we deal with fires and we deal, it's usually fires or earthquakes are the two things really that LA has to deal with. And we know there are natural disasters across the country that people have to deal with, South Florida and, parts of the South that have to deal with hurricanes and even more recently than that. And we can tornadoes and stuff, but, not to say that we're comparing any disasters to one another, but,
Yeah.
again, I've been here all my life. This is the worst I've ever seen,
Yeah.
and it's very difficult. So I'm hoping there's progress with some of the fires.
Yep.
There's some containment.
Mhm.
It's still very dangerous for a lot of folks. A lot of evacuation areas have not been lifted. And for those of you who are interested in donation or support, there's a variety of different resources. One that we flashed a minute before we came on the air, but there's plenty of ways to give back. So if you're interested in doing that, funds or donation of time, it's definitely available. But yeah, that's it. We wish everyone the best with hearts and minds.
Yeah, I have a friend who lived in Pasadena, and she
Mm,
was only able to get her two cats and evacuate. Her house is completely gone.
wow.
It's the entire neighborhood. It's
Yeah.
one of those pictures where you see just the streets are still there, and that's it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sad, sad. Well, I know it might be a bit challenging to talk about some of the things we are, but again,
Yep.
just I think it's sometimes to provide a bit of a distraction for this next 30 minutes or so. And
Yeah.
again, hope you all are staying safe. And if you had any families or friends or anybody that were impacted, our prayers and thoughts go out to all of you.
And before we jump into that, let's with the chat, Commander Bly, power to first. He's up and everything. Thank you, sir, for being in there. Did you run a comment? Say I used to live in Southern California, so I feel some connection with those that live there. Scott Simpson praying for LA. Darth Moocher, what's going on, brother? California Wildlife Reserve. And as usual, our number one homie, Meeks, has popped in tonight and everything. So thank you for popping in and everyone else that's popping in. I'm seeing some other people that's going in. Make sure that you do one of the major things, like, comment, and subscribe, most of all. And if you can do that, that helps out the channel and that gets us going. But let's have some fun tonight.
Awesome. And Chet's in the chat. Chet is away for tonight, but we'll be returning soon. But Chet, we miss you on the cast and glad that you're all also tuning in as well.
Yep.
But as Mr. Stern said, please subscribe. Our main topic of the evening is a couple of different things, and I think it's all centered around new casting
Absolutely.
of folks. I mean, we've just learned this week. There was some rumors of what is the future of Batman in Gunn's universe, and it's so interesting to learn that there'll be like the Battinson and Reeves version versus what DCU. So now we know, confirmed, that there will be another Bats.
Yep.
And so the rumor mill of who that could be. And secondly, just recently announced in the same week that we will see a new Black Panther cast. Now we know that Denzel is in the movie and likely to be cast as the villain. We don't know which villain that is, and we've talked about that in previous episodes. So who will be cast as the new Black Panther? Some big shoes to fill. Then lastly, Star Wars. We don't talk a lot about Star Wars. If you're interested in Star Wars content, obviously the Sarlacc Digest is the place to go. One of our brothers,
Yep.
in podcast lore. So if you're looking to get more insight and scoops into Star Wars stuff, that's definitely the cast to chat about. But as being Star Wars fans, like, it's interesting to know that personally, Baylan was one of my favorite newer characters. I was so captivated. I think it was the best thing to come out of Ahsoka. And now we learn that it has been recast, and we're going to talk about, like, are we happy with the decision? I know I personally am, because I think that gentleman did an amazing job in Game of Thrones. So let's jump right into it, and let's talk first about Black Panther.
Oh,
Dr.
yeah.
Brantley, Mr. Storm, your thoughts here about new Black Panther, expectations, anybody that you're wanting in this role, any rumors that you're finding on the internets?
Yeah, I was thinking about that through most of the day about like who would I want to see casted. Now, there's a couple of key things. This is coming through Reddit, a couple of leaks that came out from some major reliable sources that's been right most of the time, but they did say that the role of the Black Panther was offered to an A-list actor, and he turned it down out of fear of that he didn't want to stop momentum of his career, and he thought that jumping on after Chadwick Boseman's passing might be a tough challenge for him. So they've actually offered the role to someone else,
Hmm.
and he's turned it down. But for them, look, this was a no-brainer. I thought, unfortunately, I understand that Mr. Boseman's passing was extremely tough, and it was, but this is probably one of the Marvel's most cultural relevant characters that they've ever had. And for them not to recast him in the second movie, I thought was one of the biggest mistakes that Marvel has done out of all. And we've seen like a couple of other minor mistakes they've done with casting and things like that. But this was a major mistake because this was intentional, the reason why they did it. And I think they hurt that second movie because the second movie just seemed discombobulated because it seemed like it had really no direction. And as much as Siri is a great character in the comic books, fans weren't ready to see Siri take over for the Black Panther. That's something they just didn't want to see at this moment. So the aspect of them recasting this, yes, they should. The multiverse opens it up so they can. Um, the only person that came to mind, and I've seen this in a couple of things, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I know he is Alex Cross on the new Amazon series. And if anything, and I know he was Hawkman in Black Adam as well. He seems like a very good choice. And I know that he's not an A actor, so I don't think they've offered the role to him, but he is on his way to become one. So that's my humble opinion.
Aldous Hodge.
Yeah,
Aldous
all
Hodge.
this side, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he looks like the living embodiment of if you're going to move into that direction,
Mm-mm.
that's how you move into it. So,
Yeah, and he's already built, for that role.
mhm.
There's also a couple different things they can do. They could go with like Michael B. Jordan and make it like a alternate universe. Killmonger is Black Panther, or even Denzel as an older Black Panther from another timeline or something. But I like the idea. They definitely needed to recast him. I
Mhm.
mean, he's one of the biggest characters and also one of the biggest successes that they had in the movies. So why you're throwing all that away because, unfortunately a real person died, but this is a movie universe. It has nothing to do with real life. So they should have just recast it, moved on, and had some tribute to Chadwick.
Mhm.
But you don't have to completely derail what you were planning to do, essentially a funeral movie for an actor.
Yeah, I agree. So what I would love to see is, now that it's confirmed that Denzel is going to be in this film, that's the star power. So you don't need an A-lister to play Black Panther. Boseman wasn't at that point. And if you think about the first Black Panther, Michael B. Jordan was a credible actor and he'd
Yeah.
done things, but I wouldn't have necessarily put Michael B. Jordan in the carry a movie at that point in time. He's not. We're not talking Denzel status. So I'm wondering if perhaps that's how they're thinking about it, is like first getting a Denzel as the main villain in it to hold the movie title up, and then get somebody that's relatively unknown. Maybe it's someone that is not in a series. Maybe they look, you're getting Downey Jr. to Doom, you're recycling characters. That's great for the MCU, but maybe you try to build somebody to stardom. So it may be easier to fill Boseman's shoes, because if they offered an A-lister, as you said, Mr. Storm, and they declined, it may be because of various reasons, including I just don't want to fill the shoes and be known as the secondary Panther, but somebody who's hungry, a starving actor, may want to. So, I mean, I've seen the rumor mill, folks. I love the idea, perhaps Michael B. Jordan, alternate universe. But my personal preference is find somebody who's relatively unknown and cast them and let Denzel hold the movie up in name. And now you have your future Black Panther, as long as the movie's great, which I hope it returns to its roots as the first one, because that second one was brutal to watch.
Yeah.
So here's a recovery. But to your point, Black Panther is so vital to the MCU, and character resonates with a global audience. Do not mess this up. It is time. It is time to deliver. And I would say, I know Iron Man is so important in the MCU, and Cap, we've talked about it. Panther's up there.
Yeah,
And if they drop the ball here, it could be really bad for the future of the franchise.
Well, and look, it's a Marvel movie. You don't have to cast a big celebrity in any of these parts, because people are going to see Black Panther or Captain America. They're not going to see, oh, Chris Evans is in this movie.
Yeah.
It's the character, and you can build someone up, because most of these people, they actually did that. So,
well, it's like the same thing. Look, Robert Downey Jr.'s career was at a still, and it was the thing that revitalized him. Chris Evans was a string of actually doing the Fantastic Four and doing some other films, and not quite a huge star. Mark Ruffalo was a good actor, but the Hulk propelled him. Every role that most of these individuals come in, Chris Pratt was coming off of TV and just became a phenomena at this point. You can build a new star, but having Denzel Washington, because I've heard that Denzel Washington is supposed to be the villain. If that's the case, first of all, you've got one of the 10 greatest actors walking around today. And then to have someone opposite of you, because the one thing that Denzel does is he propels other people to actually come in and 100% pull those performances together. So I truly believe that they can't go wrong with just bringing in someone that's unknown, give him the reins, and just propel the Black Panther, because he is like, there's the Illuminati, if you're reading comics, with Reed Richards, him, Namor, and a couple of, and the Black Panther. You've got to have the Black Panther at his peak. You can't have a subservient version or low version. You've got to have him at the apex of his game. You need the Black Panther in the Marvel Universe.
and let's not get into how they destroyed Namor in that Black Panther sequel. That was just not a good take on the character, I don't think.
No, not in one way, shape, or form, and everything. And thanks, Patty, for popping in. And yes, thank you so much. Yeah, we were all thinking about them tonight.
Now we could be surprised, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll work, because you're trying to cast the Panther for future films. But maybe Denzel is Black Panther, and it's an older version, and there's another villain, and they could do anything with alternate new universes and all these different things, and that could be the case too.
he could be a bad Black Panther from
Yeah.
another universe where
Yeah.
he went wrong or something. But there's so many cool stories you can do because it's the Marvel universe. They've got how many years, 70 years or whatever of stories to pull from.
Well, here's the reason why I don't think it's Denzel Washington, because he offered the role. And they had already Denzel's already locked in for this film.
Well,
And they
no, but
offered the role, so they offered that role to
there's
make
another
sure that he
Black
goes.
Panther, but you can
Well,
have several other ones as
but
well.
but the reason why they offered that role, because this new Black Panther is going to go through Doomsday, and the second film, I can't remember what the title of that one is, but
Secret
they're
Wars.
lining
Secret
it up
Wars.
because if you look at Jonathan Hickman has he did the second version of Secret Wars a couple of years ago. Black Panther is the protagonist in that storyline, and at one point he has the Infinity Gauntlet. So there's, they usually follow pretty good storylines. And I've got a really good feeling that whoever they're going to get for this Black Panther role is immediately the guy that's going to go through these movies and then transplant himself into Black Panther 3.
Well, you could have Denzel with the gauntlet coming back through time. So that's why he's old.
Also, remember too, Denzel Washington's 70 years old too.
Well, look, all he has to do is stand still in front of a green screen. The special effects guy do the rest.
He's 70 years old and everything, So and he's also talked about like gearing down. So do you think he's going to do a commitment of 5 or 6 films?
No, he's only doing the one because he won't make it through the end of this movie.
Exactly.
I'm telling you right now, Denzel Washington dies at the end of Black Panther 3. I don't think it's going to be a shock.
I'm going to say one last thing that could surprise the shit out of everybody. And we'll move on to the next casting topic. They do have an opportunity to bring somebody into this role that would just be mind-blowing. I'm just going to say it. But the charges have been resolved. And Kang the Conqueror is still floating out there as an actor.
Yeah, I don't quite see that happening.
I mean, I'm not saying it either, but like, you want to talk about
it would not
craziness.
It would not get an audience pop kind of a thing, though. Other than what the.
Yeah, it would get a pop. I don't know about a good pop, but
yeah, people walking out.
It'd be one of them to turn it around.
Maybe it's in the new Deadpool movie because Ryan Reynolds would be like, we can make a cameo and get a hell of a reaction from the audience. We'll see. But Black Panther, we're looking forward to see who is the casting choice. Will they reveal it early on, or will they, do something at some of the cons? I don't know when this movie is slated for. It hasn't even gone into filming yet. So maybe we see a very similar, like in this summer, of a reveal of the new Black Panther as they did with RDJ and the Dune movie.
D23 or Comic-Con is a perfect time to announce it.
Drop a note in the comments for those of you listening if you want to see any particular actor that would be perfect for the Black Panther role. And again, thanks for tuning in on this fine Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Again, our hearts go out to Los Angeles, all of us residing in LA and surrounding areas. So appreciate you all tuning in wherever you are for a bit of a distraction, hopefully enjoying the content. All right, moving on to the next cast. Mr. Storm. Well, I'd love to hear if we got our Star Wars guys in the chat. But I was definitely surprised to hear this, but also very excited because I think you talk about some hard shoes to fill. Boseman is one, but this character was badass.
But to be fair, it was me and Rad and the Hound here who were the last 3 up for the role. It's mostly because of our beards. But
Darth Moocher's got a good beard too, bro.
yeah, but he doesn't have the hair.
Yeah. And he's chiming in right here. Says great casting with him being a good friend of Ray Stevenson's. He will do great, and he's absolutely right. Our Star Wars
and
basically our Star Wars historian right here would know which one we were doing it. So thank you.
And I didn't know they were friends. That makes it so much better because he will be respectful in the role and trying to do what he did.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mhm.
And they do have a similar look. They're not, I wouldn't say they're brothers,
Yeah.
but I can see how with the makeup you can do a good job.
Well, both of them are fine actors, especially Ray Stevenson defined this role. If there's a role at a point like, if you like are saying, what's your last role? This is probably one of the better last roles you could get because he, through I think what 8 episodes, made such an impact that it was devastating once we knew he was gone. And then you move on to an actor himself who has done a fantastic job because here's a character that pops in from an actor that pops in from Game of Thrones, and that's a grueling, like, time to be on that show. It was not easy. So he's up for the kind of, especially when it comes to special effects, when it comes to shooting schedules and locations and everything. You've got somebody that knows what it is to be in a big budget film. And I'm looking forward to his acting coming in. And I think that it was number one, I'm surprised because I hadn't thought about him. But the minute I saw him casted, I was like, this is perfect. This is perfect.
What I was super interested in is I think two things. One is how similar the characters they played really are, which is
Yes.
the Hound was evil. He was a bad guy technically,
Hmm.
but there was empathy for the character. There was likability. You weren't quite sure along the series, like you knew there'd be a twist. There might be a turn. Was he good? But then he was bad. And so it was almost like not only just the actors like that are similar, but the roles they played. I wonder if they looked at that and said there is like there's this charisma, but also there's this badassery about the character that could really make this character pop. I think the second thing in watching Baylan Skoll and Ray Stevenson in this series was it was very similar to like the Brandon Lee effect when you watch The
Yeah.
Crow.
Hmm.
There was a bit of sadness knowing that you were watching the last time on screen.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that Baylan Skoll is not an amazing character and the performance wasn't great, but I think that was part of it is knowing that, geez, like it's the last time you're going to see him on screen. And I think it's I think it's going to be harder
Yeah.
than someone replacing Bozeman, not on a global scale because there's going to
Sure.
be more definitely eyes on the MCU and the Avengers and all that stuff. But I think this is going to be incredibly hard, and I'm sure he'll do it justice. But like, there was something magic about that character, and where they left it off. We won't get too deep into the story here. Let's save that for the Starlight guys. But like, the massive cliffhanger of like where this character goes. I am glad that they didn't like we see it again. It must be so influential to the story. They're like, we got to
Yeah.
continue on because I was afraid they would go like, okay, we'll write him off the show. I'm like, no, what the
Yeah.
hell? Like that was
And
like
No.
you can't like.
that that's
So
the same
man,
thing that
he
Commander
must
Bly
be
just
playing a big
introduced.
impact in the future saga.
Yeah, you and Commander Bly had the same thing. He was glad they didn't scrap the role, and I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
extremely smart. And guess what? And everything. Richard was supposed to be on tonight, but unfortunately, our good castmate is sitting in the dark somewhere. But thank you, sir. They're on the dark with a phone and still rolling with the show. Gotta love Richard over at Crooked Smiles Collectible. And no, I think it's like again, like well, here's the thing. We don't talk about Star Wars, but when we do talk about Star Wars, we got something to go on. And I think that this was just like there's sometimes you recast something and they go in a way where you're thinking that, this was a wrong recasting. It somehow doesn't seem the embodiment of the first actor. This was one of the few times where they recasted someone. You're like, wow, if they could have gotten a equal actor to come in, they found it. And I was so happy that they ended up doing this.
Now,
Yeah.
one way that it actually worked with completely different interpretations is in Harry Potter. Richard
Yes.
Harris did the
Yes.
first two movies and died. And then Michael Gambon came in and was a completely different Dumbledore. He looked
Yes.
different. He acted different. So it was interesting, but actually, I really enjoyed both versions of it. but Richard Harris's was more of like the old wizened character, and a slight little spry thing. And Michael Gambon was just like crazy and prankster kind of Dumbledore. But they were both the character from the books, very different, and it worked. I don't know how.
Look,
Yeah.
with all the CGI and everything,
Mhm.
Industrial Light, Mad Lucasfilm, they could
Yeah.
have gone full Tarkin and just like recreated them. I'm so
Mhm.
glad they didn't,
I'm glad they.
because there's no, I mean, the only person that could ever do CGI like well as a full feature length film and still act the shit out of it is Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
Anybody else can't do it, and you can't put Andy Serkis in this role. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that they recast it.
And I think sometimes when it's that soon, there's a level of like, disrespect. I know in the Matrix when they had an actor pass away and they ended Oracle and then they ended up just recasting it. And that explanation was a little bit easier to kind of get through. But the first actress was fantastic. And the second actress, had a tough spot to come in and fill. And also I would be pointing out to say that also Commander Bly, shame on you. He says, I wonder if this Black series is going to be too short too.
That's awesome. I don't collect a lot of Star Wars figures, but Baylan Skoll was one I definitely
Yeah.
picked up. So
Oh
very
no.
cool character. Okay,
It does well.
moving on to the next cast, and that is I mean, what's going on with the bats? We got Batman 2 that's been delayed, the
Yeah.
Batman 2 forever. There is excitement knowing though that the Penguin's going to be a villain. There's going to be some surprise villains in there and all that stuff. So I think again, like Reeves has
Yeah.
done a great job in his universe.
Mhm.
I find it a bit awkward again. Here we're talking about a new Batman when this Batman's still going. So again, this fucking confusing. Pardon my French, but James Gunn, dude, what are you doing? Like,
Mhm.
at least like you stop Soups and you got your new Soups. But
Mhm.
this is still, you're gonna make a movie in 26, but then you're gonna recap. Like, what the hell are we talking about? So that's the
Well,
one frustrated point, because I think Pattinson was actually pretty good. And Batman had some opportunities, but the Batman wasn't bad, and
mhm.
Penguin is definitely good. So let's talk a little bit about that. And then secondly, like, who's the new Batman? Where would you like to see this go? And we know who Superman is. We haven't seen the film yet, obviously not until the summer. But what's going on here?
And one thing I'll be remind to say though is that there was something that happened over the weekend, and it would have been the greatest tragedy if it hadn't happened. Colin Farrell did win a Golden Globe for the Penguin, and it was the most deserved Golden Globe I have
100.
seen
If he
in
didn't win
years.
it, I would have been outraged. Like,
Yeah, I would have
what are
been
we talking
pissed.
about?
I
Yep.
would have been pissed. So that first of all, that was the greatest performance I have seen an actor do in years. And I'm so glad that he was able to. And I think also there's got to be an Emmy and something else coming down the line because this is a clean sweep. No one's done the roles like this. Um, look, I know that there was a point where Matt Reeves had a little bit of problems come in, and he wanted to make sure that there was a tad bit more creativity when it comes to what he could do and what James Gunn couldn't do, and I think they just couldn't agree on it. Um, I don't know if Patterson works well within the James Gunn universe because again, I don't have any faith in this because I've seen his Creature Commandos. I didn't like his Suicide Squad. I don't like the direction, and I don't like James Gunn how he does things. I think it works on quirky characters. I don't think it works on main characters. So just to call one, it called the Brave and the Bold. You're not even going to call it Batman. So you're going off this quirky little thing. And the second aspect of it is that yeah, it's hard to recast because how are you gonna explain this to fans that there's two different Batmans at the same time and the same, but yet in the past, DC wouldn't let Batman go on TV because he was having a movie come up, and now all of a sudden it's a free for all, and there's going to be multiple things going on, and it's just one of those things where it seems like one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing, and it just doesn't seem like there's a unity. And I thought that James Gunn is the guy that's running the studio. So I don't understand how you can't make it work out unless you don't want to make it work out. And that seemed exactly the James Gunn philosophy when it came to Cavill and everything else. I don't think he wanted to work it out. I think he wants to do things his way. I think he wants to have a clean slate. And this is one of those things where it sounds like it's got some DC dysfunction already going on.
Yeah, see, I don't think there's any problem with a couple different Batmans at the same time because they're obviously in very different universes. This Batman with Robert Pattinson is very dark, more realistic, as the Penguin show proves. And James Gunn is doing a full-on DCU comic book universe. And that doesn't really fit with it. I understand him wanting to do and have complete freedom. It's like with Pattinson, you can't do the Batmite. James Gunn, it's probably something that he's interested in, possibly. Because he likes the crazy shit. That's why Crypto is in this Superman movie. It's most people have avoided it because it seems a little silly. A dog with a cape that flies, but we'll see how it works out.
Well,
now it's called Brave and the Bold. Does that mean that we're going to have a Green Arrow as well as like a side character with him?
Well, you could probably cast his brother as that,
Maybe. I think in checking in Reddit and some of the rumor mills, everyone's thinking perhaps Alan Ritchson, the
I've heard
guy
that.
who was playing Jack Reacher in the Amazon
Mhm.
series, would make a great Batman. But it looks like James Gunn is going in a different direction and hiring new folk. And if what he did with Soups, we may find that it's another kind of semi-unknown character to play Batman. But time will tell. And if this Superman bombs, it might be a whole different story we're talking about.
Well,
The big question will be: will the Batman 2 be better than James Gunn's Batman Volume 1? And time will tell to see if that will be the case or not. But I am definitely looking forward to the Batman sequel.
well, I know he's already moving on to I think he's working on Clayface, and he just appeared in the sixth episode of Creature Commandos, and he was a
Hmm.
very goofy character. So that's again an indication that he's not going to go in the same line that Matt Reeves did with the Penguin. So the interesting fact is that we've seen the Joker in Matt Reeves's version. We've seen the Riddler. Now we've seen the Penguin, and I've heard that in this second the Batman movie, they're leaning towards Mister Freeze. Now, if I'm James Gunn and Matt Reeves is taking some of the most iconic characters and twisting his spin on, I think I'd be a little bit worried about that second Batman movie destroying whatever the heck I got coming down the line. Because with the Penguin series, if they just even give us a series with Mister Freeze that we've been asking for years, uh, I think that he's going to redefine a character on the screen that we've seen done wrong several times, and I think Matt Reeves is going to really hurt whatever the new DCU is going to do, because it's going to be hard to top that, because it's hard to come back from what he did with the Penguin right now. Because now when I see the Penguin, I don't even see Danny DeVito's character anymore. Like Colin Farrell just ripped it out of the water, and now forever in the back of my mind, I'm going to see Colin Farrell, and I'm going to want to see a second season this, or see him come back in another movie. And if it's Mr. Freeze, the three characters that you've done already, you show me that you've got something completely different. So you've got to let him continue to keep doing this. And I think he's only hurting, when somebody goes to sit down and watches The Brave and Bold and they're like, what the hell is this? Compared to what did Matt Reeves do? It's a hard line to come back from, man.
Yeah.
They also have a great opportunity.
Yeah.
You're right with the Penguin, right? They can do like a whole rogues gallery of just doing, because Batman's got the arguably the best villains in all of comic book history.
Hmm.
And there's so many, so good, and they've got great backstories that you can do these new versions of them,
Yeah.
like the Penguin, and and without even having Batman anywhere near the stuff.
Yeah. And you notice the
100%.
one thing that works off of it as well is that Sony tried to do that with Spider-Man's villains. But Spider-Man has a great rogue gallery, but they couldn't get it right. And the thing I was thinking with Matt Reeves was like, okay, how is he going to pull off this Penguin series? From episode one, you were like, okay, this is going to redefine superhero television shows after this, because that was probably one of the best pilots I've seen, and he was completely had your audience engaged in every episode after that. There wasn't one bad episode of the Penguin. It kept ratcheting up. That was the best writing I've seen in years. So again, I think he presents a very bad problem to James Gunn because they have two different styles that they tell stories with. And so far, somebody's got a heck of a lead on him. And I don't think that Matt Reeves' Batman works well in James Gunn, because you can't put what James Gunn's going to do like Creature Commandos. It's not going to work with that version of the Batman. Or I don't even think that Superman's going to work. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they do these things, man.
Well, definitely my favorite character of all time in comic books, Batman. So I wish it well. I do not want it to fail. Now we'll have two opportunities to do it right post Christopher Nolan. So we shall see. All right. Well, it is now time for SKN News.
Yes, it is. It is time, and we're going to start it off like we always do. SKN. From the news all around the world to your living room, this is SKN News, and we're going to kick it off this week with some pre-order information. Thursday, Marvel Legends dropped a new Build-A-Figure wave, and if you didn't get a chance to pick up this wave, don't worry, because it is readily available at your all fan channels, and we have an affiliate link at the bottom that's called Entertainment Earth, and there's a code under there, and you can actually order something from Entertainment Earth. But I checked this morning, all the characters are there, but the Nemesis wave is mostly a mixture of some Age of Apocalypse and some X Factor characters, and even a X-Men Extreme. So you've got the Build-A-Figure wave, which Nemesis is the Build-A-Figure, but you've got Gambit from the Age of Apocalypse, and then you've got Nightcrawler, Cyclops from X-Force, Marilyn Huss from Generation X, Fabian Cortez, one of Magneto's acolytes, and then Wolverine from Extreme X-Men. And if you're looking at the X Factor Cyclops, it's fantastic. That optic blast is amazing. And anytime you can get your hands on another Gambit, well, you're going to definitely want to get your hands on a Gambit. And this is the first time in a long time I've seen one of the acolytes from Magneto. And I've seen Meryl before in the earlier days, but it's really kind of cool. And then, of course, obviously, here's a picture of the Build-A-Figure Nemesis. And there you've got the Extreme X-Men in the black and with yellow accents on the suit. So, somehow they find a way of like actually getting another Wolverine out there that doesn't look like the old Wolverine. And I don't know how they keep doing it with variations and everything, but this is a cool looking one. And again, head over to Entertainment Earth. We've got a discount code. It's for the PPI cast. That's only on in stocked items. So if you want to wait till this comes to stock, fine. But they've got some really nice deals and everything over at Entertainment Earth on this. What do you guys think about this new wave?
I'm not I've never been an AOA fan, but I think so. I love the Build-A-Figure. Uh, I love the new packaging of the new Marvel Legends. The
Yeah.
box, obviously they finally have gone away from the window list. They did that in the previous waves. Cyclops is cool. I think Nightcrawler is the best figure in this line. There's a
Hmm.
couple like whatevers, so most likely we'll pick it up. Probably to build the Nemesis.
Yeah.
But I'm just not a fan of like the era. like that's the only thing, right? Like just not Age of Apocalypse. And they've done previous waves, Marvel Legends previously. Some are been hit or miss. You can get some of those on the cheap because they haven't been popular. So
I think
overall, okay.
I think the Nightcrawler back here is a little interesting though. It's a nice look, but again, I think I know you're saying that Gambit's your the valuable figure out of this. Again, I like the X Factor version of Cyclops. It reminds me of the Will Spertatio version in the early '90s, and it
Hmm.
just has that great X-Men kind of look, and I think it works itself out. But again, great series. Again, I don't know how they keep doing it 30 Wolverines and they keep making them different. And every time you want to own every Wolverine,
It's
great
Spidey.
job, Marvel
It's
Legends.
Yeah.
it's
Well,
Wolverine and Spidey is the bread and butter. You'll
it's
always
very
every
smart
yeah.
because they've had so many different X-Men, different books, different costumes,
Yeah.
and different people drawing them.
Mhm.
So they've got all these different versions that they're releasing. So it's not just one line of all like X-Men 97.
Yeah.
It's not all Age of Apocalypse. Because, yeah, if you're turned off by it, you're not going to buy any of them.
Yeah.
But this one, it's like, oh, hey, well, that is a cool Wolverine. Oh, yeah, and Nightcrawler's pretty cool too. So, I really like that they're pulling from all the different eras.
Yeah. And I'll give credit to where credit's due. They've somehow Marvel Legends 2024 was Marvel Legends year. They started off it extremely well too. So I'm looking forward to some of the stuff they're doing. I'm looking forward to seeing any of their made to order figures that they might got coming this year. And especially I'm looking for like some updated Fantastic Four stuff because we all know that's dropping this year as well. So very interesting, but good job, Marvel Legends. From there we move on to the worlds of John Carpenter. And look, before we get into it, Escape from New York remake, and it's a question mark because news as we were breaking through this story today, later on in the day, is saying that this may be a no go actually. But for right now, they've got one filmmaker whose previously was attached was the Wolfman director, the current Wolfman that looks pretty interesting. That's coming out from Bloomhouse in the next week or two. But he had been previously attached to the Universal monster, which he parted ways with, ultimately to return. So there's a good chance that since he did that with Wolfman, he may come back to Escape from New York. Also, the two gentlemen out with Radio Silence, two big filmmaking collectors responsible for the Scream sequels and Abigail, which, if you haven't seen Abigail, it was a very good concept movie. Somehow I think it got lost in the shuffle, but it was extremely interesting. So I kinda like that film, so if you wanna go back and give it a shot. But they were attached to the project in 2022, and as of last year, they confirmed eventually they parted ways from that. And then there's the filmmaker Robert Rodriguez, and this is where we're gonna get on our knees and pray here because I don't want to see Robert Rodriguez do this movie because I don't know if his tone's gonna work with it. But he's been trying currently to get this material out. So, all in all, what do you guys think and everything? Is this one of those? Because I personally thought when John Carpenter did Escape from Los Angeles, it was like y- y- you just probably should have left this alone. It's one of those films that just worked in 1981, even though the film's brought into 1997. And it kind of maybe New York did look like that in 1997. I don't kind of remember, but it might have. But
Giuliani was the mayor, so
but do you guys think this is one of those films that they should reboot or a no go? Don't touch it. It was fine with Kurt
well,
Russell.
see, now this is one because usually I don't like reboots, remakes, all this kind of stuff from a good movie.
Yeah,
It's just like, why bother? It was already good.
yeah,
But this is something that they actually can, if the right people do it and they come up with the right story, and it's not just doing the exact same thing that the first one did. But they can do something that looks better with better effects. They're going to have to find a new place to land their glider in this one,
yeah,
and it's they should do something different with the concept And
Mhm.
so it's not the president's plane goes down and he has to catch it. There's other stories you can do with New York City or Manhattan as a prison. That's a cool concept. They should do something new.
Mhm.
What I mean, there's Escape from Idaho, Escape from Montana. Why does it
No,
gotta
that's
be New
just what
York?
the residents call living there.
I mean, come on. Like, there's plenty of opportunities to. This goes back to if it ain't broke, you know, like
Yeah.
what all the Hollywood, and we can go on forever. It's not going to stop. There's something. If there's something that was really good, if there's an opportunity to make things better, I'm all in favor.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just don't touch because it's so bad, forget it. But there's some there's examples of like, what if something could have been better, then do it. But when there's something's like pretty good or amazing, you
Mhm.
never want to see that again. And I think we all know the outcomes of this. I'd rather see something, if it's not new creative content, something that wasn't done well that perhaps could be redone in a better sense. But I think of this movie, and I'm not at any means comparing it, but like these classics like Big Trouble in Little China, like when we're gonna hear that, we're gonna remake, like what are you doing? Like, don't touch those amazing things, right? But then again, you see like a Blade Runner getting remade, and you see all these, Tron, and like
Well, but
what
then you have the ones like Conan,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like, okay, you might have had the right actor to
yeah.
replace Arnold, but everything else in that movie was terrible.
Yeah, that's why it's just like, don't. Yeah, I'm not a fan here. Robert Rodriguez, he's had some stuff in his portfolio, but a lot of the stuff has not been great as of late, including
Yeah.
Spy Kids stuff.
Well,
Um,
and also he was responsible for a lot of the Book of Boba Fett
Yeah. Mhm.
and having, the Vespa biker gangs.
yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, if I look back, it kind of ended with Desperado, didn't it? Kind of
Yeah.
it was like El Mariachi Desperado, and it
Yeah.
kind of,
Because then he went into the Spy Kids stuff, and then
yeah,
he was just making those cheap ass movies on a green screen with a bunch of kids
yeah.
and really cheap, bad special effects that he could knock out in, paying a couple guys and his home computer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Well, hey, whatever it is, it's always interesting whenever you do a remake, and it's hard to do it when it's a really good cult classic like that film. It Because let's be honest, John Carpenter in 1981 just kind of did it almost close to perfection. Just leave it alone. Again, it's like I know The Rock was talking about Big Trouble in Little China. Just leave it alone. It
Well,
just let
who do
it
you
live where
get
it lived.
to replace Kurt Russell,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Snake Plissken is going to be a tough one to recast.
It really is. It really is.
It's
All
not
right.
Glenn Powell.
All right, getting back to the more news right here. Let's see if I can get this back in. All right, so from there, we'll roll it through. Uh Story of the day. Story of the day. Marvel Studios talking about recasting the Black Panther. Well, guess what? They were talking about not bringing the Punisher back, but they did bring him back, and they brought the best version. But they're taking it up one more. They're gonna bring the Punisher back in its own series. Now, if you don't know, the Punisher is gonna be popping into Daredevil Born Again series. Been a lot of great shots and everything to see that cast back together. It's nice to see John Bethenthal popping back in as well. And March 4th of this year, we're going to be able to see that. So I can't wait for that. But Marvel Studios is reportedly planning to bring back Frank Castle in a new Punisher series on Disney Plus. This will come after his confirmed return in Daredevil Born Again, with rumors suggesting that the upcoming series will act as a confirmation of the Netflix show, effectively serving as a third season. Brilliant. Brilliant. Don't mess with what's good. Bring them back. I can't wait to see this version of the Punisher in the MCU. It is nice that they're incorporating those characters like Daredevil and all the rest of them in. Can't wait to see this, man.
Well, they said it's going to be the most violent Disney Plus Marvel show ever. This one that's coming March 4th. So I
Yep.
can't imagine it Punisher's own series after
No.
the fact
No.
if you're setting the bar that high. I would be incredibly surprised if this doesn't end up being the best, if not close to the best MCU TV show when this debuts.
Mhm.
Understanding you got Daredevil, you got Kingpin, you got Punisher, the trio, and the actors that play these characters too. Man, there hasn't been
Wow.
anything that I've been looking more forward to in MCU TV than this. So
If
I
this
can't.
series
I love it.
if this series is disappointing, it's
It
gonna
can't be.
break my heart.
Well, like John Bernthal doesn't play. He doesn't do a lot of shit. Like I think, again, a big paycheck from Disney. Maybe he takes it. But I can't imagine. Like a lot of the stuff he touches is gold. A lot of stuff
Yeah.
he does cameos in is gold. And then I just think Vincent D'Onofrio playing Kingpin.
Wow.
I mean, that's all you got to tell me is
Yeah.
those two things. And I think Daredevil, let's do it. Let's see it. Let's see this violence, man.
Yeah.
And set the tone. Episode 1, set the tone.
So
Well-
make sure that March 4th, set your DVRs or whatever you need to do, or make sure you got that tuned in because we're going to see his triumphant return in Daredevil Born Again along with Charlie Cox. And it's going to be most anticipating. But this Punisher series, man, that's going to be awesome. And there's a good chance, hopefully, we'll see him in like Doomsday and a couple of these Avenger movies because you've got to start incorporating those guys in there, man.
Hey, am I
So-
going to get my Punisher van from Ramen Toys before this series comes out? I'm trying to think. When is that shipping on? that
Actually,
one?
they say it's supposed to ship in by the end of this month. So yeah,
Okay.
like you
I
should
got
be
my
able to-
Punisher van ready to go.
right, be right there.
Yeah,
So,
this was
like I
my
said-
favorite character
Yes.
from Marvel
Mhm.
because I started out I started out with Star Wars, and then I moved into Star Trek comics, and then started going into DC. And I always looked at the Marvel stuff and was like, that looks a little too silly. It looks like they're running around in their pajamas and stuff. DC was not much better, but it was a little more serious. But then I saw Punisher. And I was like, wait, this guy's walking around in all black with a skull on his shirt. I'll check this out. And it's like him and Ghost Rider, a flaming skull, were like my favorite characters from all of the Marvel stuff. So I'm very looking forward to this because they really screwed up Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Well, the rumor has it, and I put money on it, is that Ghost Rider will be at the tail end of this series, setting up
Wow.
the future Ghost Rider. That's the rumor is we will see whoever it is, and we may not see the actor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is maybe the In Flames version,
Right.
but I think that would be incredible to see. Let me ask you a question, Dr. Brantley. We know Punisher is your favorite Marvel. Who's DC?
Oh, it's Batman.
So Batman and Punisher, you definitely love characters that are just really messed up in the head, don't
Yes,
you?
very dark.
Revenge-driven.
Although, look, one is a stone cold murderer, and the other has a no murder policy.
Yes,
So
but, but both are very mentally scarred.
Well, that was the 80s, brother. That was the 80s.
I know. I'm just teasing. I knew the answer was Batman. I just wanted to hear the audience like. Hey,
Yeah.
Dr. Brantley, Batman and Punisher. You draw your own conclusions.
Also, if you
I really should have said Wonder Woman or Superman or something, or maybe Aquaman. That would
It's
have thrown
typically
you.
if like I'm a diehard Batman, it's usually not who's your favorite Marvel Spider-Man. It's usually not that duo. It's usually a darker character in the Marvel universe. So.
Hey, blame Norm Brayfogle and blame Jim Lee and Will Spurtatio.
Yep. Those were the guys I got on board with because like this looks beautiful
It does.
and I love these stories that they're telling with these characters, and it doesn't seem like a typical comic book.
And let's not remiss over Carl Potts or Garth Ennis as well, because wow, and also of course one of our personal favorites. All three of us on this panel will say Tim Bradstreet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think Garth Ennis' work was the best. That we did we long ago. Check our catalog, Shadow Nose Network. Go back, PPI. We've done so many casts over the past 18 months, 2 years, or however the hell long I think we've been doing this, but we talked about like who did the best runs of different characters in comic books. And I know we had mentioned Punisher specifically, but Garth Ennis's run on a lot of different characters that he's done over time, but his Punisher work,
Wow.
solid. So
Wow. Well, like I said, I know we'll be tuning into Disney Plus and everything, so we're keeping those subscription fees going just for Daredevil, just for this. Keep them coming, guys. From there, it's not one of Dr. Brentley's favorites, but damn straight he's one of mine.
It can only go up though. But see, here's the thing: this can only go up. Like
Let me tell you something.
Howard, like it's the same thing. If you did Howard the Duck, like no one says it's a good idea to remake, but it can only be better. It can't be worse, could it?
Well, let me tell you, there's no slander on Darkman. Because I distinctly, because Dr. Brentley knows, I have an actual bus stop poster of Darkman, and who is Darkman consumed my life and everything. Look, it's first of all, it has Liam Neeson in it, and all of a sudden now Liam Neeson's the man. But when Liam Neeson did that role, you saw that he could become the man. Well, fresh off the Netflix thriller Don't Move, which was produced by Sam Raimi. Great job, Mr. Rainey. In the wake of Rainey working with filmmakers on a QB series, which if you don't know what QB is, it was too quick to even us for it to remember, but it went in. 50 States of Fright, director Brian Nito and Adam, trying to see that, whatever his name is, has a dream project in mind. And they want to bring Daredevil back, or I'm sorry, Darkman back to life. The character was introduced by Sam Raimi franchise or movie back in 1990. And I remember that series. I sat in the theater to see it. Fantastic. It was point. But the main man right here, Liam Neeson, played the title character in Raimi's Universal Darkman, which essentially mashed together superhero movies and the classic Universal monster, which it did. And Liam has expressed interest in reprising the role. Let me tell you something. This version of Liam Neeson now would be fantastic. And if you get a great filmmaker to match this in, oh man, I'm sitting in the theater for Darkman, brother.
And his age is not a problem in this because the stuntman is going to be wearing a hat, a jacket, and wrapped around his face a bunch of bandages. So it could be anybody.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, Liam Neeson coming back for this now, I will go see. I was not a fan because I was all hyped up for it. I also saw this in the theater, and I was like, oh, this is really goofy.
Well, it was good. It'd be more in the tone of there was some hit and misses with it, but
you loved Army of Darkness. I did not like the tone of Army of Darkness. It's that goofiness that I don't think works with the more serious subject matter.
And yet, same thing in Darkman. Bruce Campbell shows up at the end too.
This deserves a remake because the first one was, in my opinion, needed a lot of work, my friend. You could have as many bus posters as you want, but this one...
I even own the Darkman action figure. Like I said again, it's one of my favorite series. Come on, Sam Raimi. You can pull it through. Remember, everybody laughed at Sam Raimi till he did Spider-Man. And then people were like, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on.
I believe in Sam Raimi, just not in this particular context. With
Don't worry, man. So. He's got it. It's like, you know what? Sometimes slow starts make good finishes. Go on, Sam Raimi. I'm looking for Darkman. Who is Darkman? Liam Neeson's Darkman. We're going to see him again on the screen. I can't wait to see him. From there, guess what? The best that ever was is reaching number 400. That is right. Wolverine is getting to his 400th issue. In April, Wolverine 8 will be the 400th with an oversized issue by series creative team of Ahmad and Kukacol. I think I've got his name right. Probably butchered that up. And one thing that I saw that actually really kind of got me interested was Daniel Warren Johnson. Now, if you don't know who Daniel Warren Johnson is, he is doing the Transformers series, the Energon series, over at Skybound, and he is fantastic on that series. So I'm looking forward to his backup story on this. And Andy Kubert, which Andy and Adam do Wolverine the best. Andy's going to do a variant cover to this. So I'm looking forward to just picking this up only because of the Andy Cooper cover and it's issue 400. But what's you guys' thoughts? Anybody wants to see a Wolvie take to issue 400, or this is a pass up on you guys?
I mean, I think it's cool. I don't know if I'll get it, but like that's amazing to see. I mean, Wolverine's been in how many different books and
Wow.
variants and
Yeah.
Logan and all this, but to see its own Wolverine book 400, wow, what an amazing character, and again, the reason why it's one of the most popular Marvel characters of all time.
Absolutely.
And also shows my age because I'm like, oh yeah, they introduced this character like in the 70s. He had his own series in the 80s, and it's only from then that he has gotten 400 issues.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's and you're only doing like 12 a year. So it's like, oh, that's a lot of time.
Mhm.
Well, like I said, Bub will be slashing into the 400 mark in April of this year. So make sure you check your local comic book stores and everything for that, or where you buy your fine comic books at online. But definitely, you're going to want to pick up this issue, especially with the Andy Cooper cover. And then from there, if they're talking about, they got the ballerina just popping in a couple of weeks from now.
Well, we got to
And
see. We got to make sure that's good before I get
true,
any excited.
Yeah.
This character is
true.
amazing. Donnie Yen's amazing, but let's just make sure Ballerina is good before I get off of my seat.
Look,
And if it is, I'm like, hell yes.
I don't
This is
think
one of the
Keanu
coolest
Reeves
characters
was going to
ever.
appear in something that was bad. I think that Keanu Reeves is a protector of the John Wick universe, and I think that he had this a little bit close at hand. And so I don't think that he was going to appear in something that was really going to be bad. So that when seeing him in the film, and from what I've heard, it's not a 5-minute cameo. He's in the film for not a great length, but a better length than we think. That let me know that I think they have really good faith in this. Now, Donnie Yen, of course, you absolutely know this man is a master when it comes to the screen. But yeah, here's the thing. Not only is he talking about the spinoff, they're talking about letting him direct this. Now, first of all, I don't know if everybody in the world has seen John Wick 4. Chances are you've seen John Wick 4. Come on. That stairway scene was probably cinematics one of the better fight scenes of all time. And to have him come back and do Kane and like basically take the gloves off. Okay, brother. I think he can do this right, man. I'm totally excited to see this. I'm glad they're expanding some of the stuff. I didn't think the Continental held up to the actual John Wick franchise, but they've done 4 John Wick films, and damn straight all 4 are good. That's really hard to do. So, and I think the ballerina's not going to disappoint us. We'll have to wait and see. So, if you're watching this cast a month from now, it might be a different opinion on what Friday night we have, but I'm holding out hopes. What do you guys think? Think Donnie Yen takes us to the next level?
Oh yeah. I mean, the cool thing is, just like DC, you can do like the rogues gallery of the John Wick universe. There's so many cool characters that are also assassins. So you could just come up with all these different assassin stories with different characters that have their own unique thing, and they could keep this going for another 20 years.
Yep.
Look.
I said my piece. Ballerina better deliver, and if it is, then I'm all about Donnie Yen, who's the most fascinating character in the entire franchise outside of John Wick. And he knows how to get down in fight sequences. There's no doubt about it. I'm trusting in the fight choreography. All the things line up for this to be incredibly successful. I think what would be interesting would be, I'm just going to throw it out there.
Okay.
If they make this, put Jackie Chan in as a villain. It's time. We need Jackie back in the limelight in a U.S. film. And this would be amazing.
Karate Kid Legends. What are you talking about?
That doesn't count. Jackie Chan in his old fighting days, in his international global box office, put him in as a surprise hitman, it would be amazing. So I'm just throwing it out there. I would love to see him in the John Wick
Jackie
universe.
Chan as a Cold Stone assassin,
Oh,
something we have never seen before. That would be kind of cool.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
would be
it would
cool.
be great.
It's like,
My
no
catapult-
jokes, no smile. He's just like, no, I'm a badass.
It's time. It's time
That's
to see
it.
him that way. So
You
we'll
know what,
see.
Keanu Reeves, get Jackie Chan on the phone. Get done.
Right now.
Get it done,
right
brother.
now.
Get
Just
it
as
done.
long as that, and the last thing I'll say, my personal request, this takes me back to when we were doing the comic books ourselves, and Mr. Storm's character Hannibal, one story sitting in the coffee in the diner, reading a book, or I forget what it was, but yeah, and the Continental or whatever it is, because does the Continental exist anymore? I forget. In the series, it's gone.
It does.
Didn't it
There's
burn down, or is it
other
still there? Okay.
variations of it.
I want to see in the very corner for like a small cameo, Chuck Norris just sitting there having a coffee. Give me Chuck Norris, just as the old wise man who used to be top, killer of the days, just hanging out. So if you give me Jackie Chan, a little cameo of Chuck Norris, I'll be a happy man. But Ballerina needs to deliver.
All right,
Now,
so we got.
look, the Ballerina is different than if Donnie Yen is going to direct a movie in this universe. No matter how Ballerina is, his thing will be on its own, probably pretty good based on all of his previous stuff.
Absolutely. Well, with that and everything, like Donnie Yen, pick up the phone, call Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan, get on the phone and get Chuck Norris.
Got a
And
three-way
with that,
call here.
ladies and gentlemen,
Courtesy
with that,
of DPI.
that is the end of SKN News for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Storm, as always. Well, we talked about a lot this evening, and the rumor mills, the hype, the not so much hype around the new Bats, the new Baylan, and the new Black Panther, and the rundown of all pop culture around toys, entertainment, comic books. This is Pixels, Plastic, and Ink. We're here every Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, right here on the Shadow Nose Network. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Look at our back catalog, a variety of other different programming and content, including every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, is the Toybox Chronicles, all things toys and collectibles right here on the channel as well. Gentlemen, any last thoughts before we adjourn for this evening?
Actually, two things. One, we see everybody on X. Thanks for popping in tonight.
Appreciate it.
All the people over at Rumble, thanks for popping in tonight.
Appreciate it.
And Instagram, we see you.
Much love, IG. Much love, IG.
Also, just to let you know, this Wednesday, we've got a cross-platform kind of partnership that we just kind of sewn down with Deadman Juan and Toymerks. And they have a very huge page over on Instagram, and we're going to be doing some stuff back and forth with them. Deadman Juan is actually going to pop in and do a little guest hosting with me this Wednesday on Toybox Chronicles, and they are going to actually reveal, they've done it a little earlier, but they're also going to pop in on that show. They've got a 4,000 sub giveaway that they're doing right now, and one of the prizes I've seen is the Destro from Mezco. So that's a giveaway, and that's a great giveaway. So pop in Wednesday night, 7 p.m. over at Toybox Chronicles, and catch myself and Deadman, and hopefully, we'll still have power and everything going on, so we'll still be able to roll that through. But other than that, like Darth Moocher said, great show, and stay safe.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
Yeah, stay safe, LA.
Stay safe. Our heart goes out to everybody impacted by the fires. We appreciate you all being with us this evening. Much love, LA. Take care. Stay safe. And we'll see you next week.
Toys versus
Games. I'm here with the man, the owner.
Tony at Toys vs. Game.
versus
Games.
Oh.